Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, I am going to continue to respond to questions that have been previously submitted to me by subscribers of the channel. And in this video, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about a guy named Justin who sent me a couple of questions along the lines of why someone has to either be a key collector or essentially a completist. And then he also wanted to better understand why I have decided to collect Amazing Spider-Man. So over the course of this video, I'm going to attempt to answer those questions. Generally speaking, I don't think that there's any wrong way to collect comics. I think that you have to collect and buy what makes you happy and what satisfies your interest as a reader and as a collector. Now, with that said, I think that if you don't have a goal and a focus for your collection, that could be detrimental. And what I mean by that is that there's an infinite number of comics out there, right? There's Golden Age, there's Bronze, there's Silver Age, there's Copper, there's modern comics, there's Westerns, there's horror. I mean, you name it, there is a ton of comics out there. And so the question becomes, what are you interested in? And what are you going to buy? How are you going to spend your money? And so I think if you are a collector, you have to ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What are you excited about? What do you want to collect? And if you take the time to ask yourself those questions and you can actually articulate what you're interested in, I think that that gives your collection and your spending some focus. And I think that once you have that focus and once it makes sense in your mind, then you're good from there. Right? And so I don't know if someone has to be a key hunter or completist. I don't know if those things are mutually exclusive to one another. Again, because if your goal is to complete a run of a particular comic, but you're also interested in other keys, I think that makes perfect sense. Those things can coexist within one collection. And in fact, if you look at my collection to some degree or another, I do both of those things now. I buy keys and I am also working on a run of Amazing Spider-Man. And again, for my collection, because of my focus, this makes perfect sense. Now, when it comes to keys, I don't buy just any key or every key, right? I buy keys of collectors, of characters and of titles that are of interest to me. And there are many keys out there that I just won't buy just because that's not my focus. And I don't want to dilute my buying power by buying a key that of a character that I am not interested in. I would rather take that money and spend it elsewhere, spend it on something that I'm really passionate about. And does that mean that I walk away from deals for keys? Absolutely. Do I feel bad about it? I do not. I don't, because that's not my focus. And I can go through a short box or a long box and I can pass key after key after key after key and I have no problems with that because that's not my focus. You know, I've passed up fantastic books that other people would have jumped at, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest because I am after specific stuff, things that make me happy. If I were to take $500 and to buy a key, even if that key was valued at $700, for example, and I could get it for $5, I would not buy that key because I'm not interested in that book, right? And the worst thing that could happen is that you buy something that you're not passionate about and then you get stuck with it. And you're really unhappy because you spent your money and you have something that you're not passionate about. Versus if you take that same amount of money, buy something that you're excited about, whether that thing goes down or goes up, you are still excited about it because you wanted that thing. And so I collect keys of characters and titles that interest me. So if it is Spider-Man related, I want it. If it's X-Men related or any kind of X related mutant thing, I am on it. I love those kinds of books. And will I eventually, for example, get like Avengers 1? Probably. But I will get Avengers 1 after I do some other things related to the X-Men and the Spider-Man. So I think that, again, these things can kind of coexist. And I don't think that you have to be one thing as long as you've taken some time to ask yourself questions around what's important to you and where do you want to focus. So I have also decided that I want to complete a run of Amazing Spider-Man. And for me, as a Spider-Man fan, there is only one title to get, and that is Amazing Spider-Man. And I feel that way for a couple of reasons. There have been some significant creators that have worked on Amazing Spider-Man. It has a long, storied history, that being Amazing Spider-Man. I find that fascinating. The number of first appearances and events that happen in the title of Amazing Spider-Man fascinate me. The character fascinates me. I absolutely love that title. And that doesn't mean that I don't love Web of Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man and some of the other titles that are out there. It just means that I love Amazing Spider-Man more than I love the others. Because, again, I'm a Spider-Man fan. But to me, Web of Spider-Man, for example, pales in comparison in terms of significance to Amazing Spider-Man. Now, someone could say Web of Spider-Man, they might love it. They might want to collect that. And again, I think that that's perfectly fine for their collection. I'm not poo-pooing what they're doing. I'm simply saying that based upon my goals, my preferences, Amazing Spider-Man makes the most sense for me because of all the things that I just cited. There's actually a lot of dollar difference between those two as well. And there's reasons why one might select one title versus another because of the dollars associated with those two titles. And with that said, I have a healthy amount of Web of Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man because I'm a Spider-Man fan. But my focus in terms of, and actually I should say, I probably have keys, a healthy number of the keys for Spectacular Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man. Not every issue, but the keys. But when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, every single issue is important to me because I want to complete that run. And it's just another way in my mind of making this hobby fun, right? Making the hobby interesting and being able to tell a story. Because I can remember a lot of these individual books, picking them up, what the experience was like, and flash forward, 20 years, 30 years when I'm hopefully handing these off to my kids and I can show them this amazing run of Amazing Spider-Man and talk to them about my experience with hunting down these individual books. That to me is pretty exciting. So, Justin, I hope that this helps in some small way to understand that you don't have to be either a key hunter or completist, that you can be a combination. You can really be anything that you want to be if it makes sense to you. And then I also hope that it helps you guys to understand why I've opted to collect a full run of Amazing Spider-Man. And as an aside, I am getting closer and closer to completing this run. My real focus right now is on Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 261. And I have about 50 books to go in that run. And with that said, I have a healthy portion of 262 through 801. But I am really focused on those lower numbers. And the reason for that is when you look at the significance of the title, so much of it sits with those lower number books. And the same can be said with the value of those books. So I'm one of those people, I, to some degree, want to tackle the hard stuff first. And that's why I'm focusing on the lower numbers versus the later numbers. The later numbers are abundant. They're inexpensive. I think that they can easily be found. And they probably are not going up in value the same way that some of the lower numbers are. So those lower number Amazing Spider-Man are already expensive. And they get more expensive in my head and possibly on paper every single year. And certainly as more movies are made and all that other kind of stuff, those books continue to go up in value. And so my thing is, let's focus on the hardest stuff first. Let's tackle that. Let's get that squared away. and then we can worry about some of that other stuff a little bit later. So there you go. Just a little bit of additional insight, a little bit of an update on where I am with the run of Amazing Spider-Man, because I know a lot of people are interested in that and have been asking questions. So there you have it. Now, with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Justin, I hope that this helps. Certainly, if you guys have other questions, comments, issues, suggestions for future videos, don't hesitate to reach out to me either on Instagram at Regie Collects or on email at regiecollects@gmail.com. And as always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Take care.